morning, everyone. Good morning. Could we ask everyone to please take your seats? And we'll be able to get this incredible program honoring our Silver Circle inductees started. Thanks so much. Please take your seats.
Welcome to the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Wisconsin Silver Circle Honors Ceremony.
Good morning, everyone. All right, you can do better than that. Come on, we're here to celebrate the Packers and the Super Bowl. Thank you. It is a super Sunday to celebrate excellence, and I'm delighted that you are all here. We'll get to brunch in just a couple of minutes, but first I am delighted and honored to introduce one of my personal heroes, Marquette Provost Kimo Ayun. Kimo and I started at Marquette on the same day in 2016. He as Dean of the College Communication and me as the first ever Director of Student Media. Kimo likes to say my office was dark when he started that day, but I remember it the other way around. And Kimo, it's my event, so that's what we're going with, okay? You would be hard-pressed to find a bigger supporter of student media and student television than Kimo. Under his leadership, we enhanced MUTV's facilities, culture, education, and student experience, and we are proud to say that MUTV is now one of the finest student television stations in the Midwest. Please welcome Kimo Ayun.
Thanks, Mark. And while he might have started earlier that day than me, I lasted longer than him, which might make him smarter than me. I am so blessed to be here today. I want to welcome all of you. I appreciate that you decided to come to Marquette University to hold your very special event. And I hope next year I'm back with you again, that we were able to celebrate for many years to come, and I hope you have a great day at Marquette University. One of the great things about being provost at Marquette University is we think about what we do as a university, and our mission statement is very clear. Ultimately, what we want to do is to develop men and women for and with others, and we talked about developing productive, ethical leaders. And it begins by thinking about what our students are doing. And so as I look into the back there, you'll see our students who are live streaming this event. So, hi, Mom. And it's an opportunity for them to be able to work on their craft and then eventually go back and contribute to the industry more generally. But I want to particularly thank a person back there. Trinity She's our broadcast director. And at Marquette, when we're successful, what we do is we provide a greater number of people into the industry. And I know there's a few people I'd like to recognize here today. So first, Tim Betcher, and I see Tim sitting to my right here. For those of you know who Tim at WTMJ4, he's been a great advocate for Marquette University. Recently, we collaborated with him to bring political debates onto campus. He continues to give back to Marquette, so thank you, Tim. Renee Raffelli. I didn't see Renee come in. There's Renee. Hi, Renee. It's been a while. So for those of you who know Renee at WISN, and I think about when I talk to our students and providing internship opportunities and career opportunities, thank you for all you continue to do for Marquette and the Milwaukee community. There are a couple of our alums who aren't here today, but I just want to mention them. For those of you who know Jeff Kiernan, he's now out in Las Vegas. He's an incredible mentor to our students. And then lastly, Ben Tracy, a CBS affiliate. And I say Ben is the reason why I'm here. Ben was actually on my committee when I was hired here at Marquette University. So he was just a tremendous asset. He continues to really provide for everyone. The Silver Circle Awards, and I've thought about this, it's a career award. And in order to receive an award like this, and you talk about the commitment, there are certain things that came to mind. It's a recognition of character, commitment, courage, and leadership. And at Marquette University, when we think about Catholic, Jesuit institution and what we do, all of those things align very closely what we do. So I thought it'd be appropriate in closing and thinking about the honorees today to read something from St. Ignatius of Loyola. And he writes about how we should behave. And I think when people behave in this way, they get recognized at events. He writes, "To give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labor and not to ask for any reward, save the knowing that we do thy will." Congratulations to today's winners, and thank you for being here at Marquette University.
Thank you, Kimo. As provost, and for those of you who don't do education speak, that's number 2 in command. As provost, Kimo certainly knows Marquette's history quite well, but I did some digging at the Rainer Memorial Archives, and I uncovered something new. It turns out that back in the late 1800s, when Marquette was formed, one of the early Jesuit priests loved to hunt. One day he shot a bear, but he only wounded it. Not a good idea. The angry bear charged. The Jesuit priest threw down his musket and ran for his life. Once he realized that he couldn't outrun the bear, he dropped to his knees, made the sign of the cross, and started praying. "Our Father, who art in heaven." Just then the bear caught up to the priest, and to his surprise, the bear dropped to his knees and made the sign of the cross. "Praise the Lord," the priest said, "it's a Jesuit bear." Just then, the bear started praying. "Bless us, O Lord, for these thy gifts." Here to give us a more appropriate prayer is one of the coolest Jesuits I know, Father Grant Geringer. To the best of my knowledge, he does not specialize in bear hunting, but he is a brethren. In addition to his spiritual duties, Father Grant teaches television studio production, theater, and digital media in the Dietrich College of Communication. Father Grant?
Good morning. First thing I want to say is I love television and I love radio. And since my infancy, have been probably the average about the many wonderful people that I have met and the things that I have done as a Jesuit all over the world. I encourage you, not only just the award winners today, but all of you, to take some time to think about what you are grateful for in this industry. What has prompted your interest in this type of work? Who were your role models? How did you get started? What were your challenges? And what were your successes? Who mentored you? Who was a challenge and taught you how not to do this job? We all know those people. I want to thank you for your dedication and perseverance in offering to the public information and stories. God is a storyteller. You share that gift to the world of various events, joys, sorrows, historical events, encouraging us, the viewers, to have a broader perspective, perhaps a new way of thinking, empathy, and compassion. As you move into the future, and I know some of you have worked in this business for over 40 years, please never stop sharing your skills and your talents and your experiences. Mentor those coming after you with patience and care. Adapt to the new technologies, which seem to be so many and so quickly nowadays. The example of your professionalism and quality work is inspiring to me, my students, and to your viewers. Thank you for your work and your service, and God bless your future.
Thank you, Father Grant. It is time to eat. Alan and the waitstaff will let your table know when it's your turn to go to the buffet, which is off in that direction. As you wait your turn to go to eat, text all your friends and let them know that we will be live streaming. We're live streaming right now, as a matter of fact, on
like to welcome you back to our first live in-person Silver Circle event in Milwaukee in 3 years. It's so great to have everybody together. I can't tell you how thrilled we are to be back here in Wisconsin, and thank you for joining us on Super Bowl Sunday. I know it's a busy day for everybody, and we promise to get everything done so you can get back and watch the game later this afternoon. But first, we want to celebrate our new Milwaukee Silver Circle class of 2023. These, of course, are the outstanding individuals who devoted 25 years or more to the television industry here in Wisconsin. And this afternoon, we have 5 great new honorees we'll celebrate. But before we celebrate those who've had great careers in broadcast, I'd like to take this time to talk about the broadcasters of the future in our chapter. Since 1995, the NATAS Chicago Foundation has offered scholarships to both high school and college students, and we offer up now $36,000 in scholarships each year to students in the NATAS Chicago Midwest chapter. And of course, we fund our scholarships through donations each month. So I'd like to encourage you to donate to our scholarship fund. You can go to our website, chicagomyonline.org, to donate and get more information, and you can also send a check by mail, and the website has all the information about that. First, I'd like to thank our host this evening or this afternoon, Marquette University, and I'd like to thank our Milwaukee-based board member, Mark Zaromsky, for doing an excellent job at organizing this event, along with our executive director, Rebecca Cowan. We also have another board member, Jesse Garcia, who's in the audience today, so I'd like to thank her for attending as well. And now we've got 5 incredible new inductees to our Milwaukee Silver Circle class that we want to honor. And to kick off the proceedings, I'd like to introduce our host. She's a 2019 Milwaukee Silver Circle honoree, a great broadcast journalist with over 6 decades of experience as a broadcaster and communicator. She was one of the first female African-American reporters, both here in Milwaukee and in Indianapolis. And she's one of the most respected broadcast journalists in our chapter. So please welcome our host, Eddy.
Dwight Carey is back in the booth again. We're all the way in the back. Joanne Williams. Jim Wilson. Mark Zoronsky. All the way in the back. And Denise Calloway. If there's anyone we missed, Dan Needles, Dan, stand up, Dan. No, Dan, stand all the way up. All the way up, Dan. We didn't call your name right the first time, so stand up all the way up. Do it again. I'm not going to stop till you do it, Dan, so this is okay. All right, thank you very much, and thanks for letting us know we missed Dan. The Wisconsin Silver Circle Class of 2023 is a tribute to our colleagues whose efforts make stations run and move. Their work and skills may not be widely known by the audience who benefit from their talents, but without them, what we watch and experience every day is tasks, programs, and specials that would be impossible. In fact, for some of us, our jobs would be impossible. As with many successful broadcasters, our first honoree, Jan Wade, has worked for stations across the country. We are fortunate she has brought her considerable talents here to Milwaukee, where since 2007, she has been the general manager of WISN. Her passion and skill for building top-notch teams, combined with her dedication to making Milwaukee better, has benefited. Let's know more about 2023 Silver Circle nominee, Jan Wade.
WISN 12 President and General Manager Jan Wade. A storied career of leadership, excellence, and service. GM at Channel 12 for 16 years and counting. Jan was the first female general manager here in Milwaukee. A trailblazer for women, always ready to take on the next challenge, to lead the way.
Jan Wade is one of the most authentic human beings I've ever met.
She is a person of high integrity.
She's a rock star. She's the best.
She's genuine, she's smart, she's engaging, she cares about the people she works with and surrounds herself with the very best. She really is an incredible role model.
An amazing female leader.
Jan is a really good leader because she does things to make everyone feel important.
She was exceptional.
And she keeps people together.
A lifelong broadcaster, she moved up quickly from a news anchor at an Indiana radio station to producing shows in Nashville, where she got the opportunity to make her beloved nephews the stars of the show.
I hired Jan in 1986 to be the Promotion and Public Relations Director at WKRN in Nashville, and she went on to do an amazing, amazing job at that television station.
To Creative Services Director in Rhode Island, all the way to General Manager in Knoxville and Milwaukee.
I will always personally bet on Jan to win.
In 2008, one of Jan's first big moves was to hire veteran TV journalist Mike Goucher to host her newly created political and public affairs program, Up Front.
To me, Up Front was an example of Jan's commitment to serving the public good.
Holding the #1 household rating in the very competitive Milwaukee market for 11 of her 16 years at WISN.
7 out of the 8 past years Station of the Year award. That stems from leadership at the top.
Keeping WISN #1 for 14 months during a global pandemic. Launched the hour-long block of 12 News at 11 a.m. Established a half-hour newscast at 9 p.m. on WISN's multicast channel, True Crime Network, along with launching the newest edition, WISN 12 News at 4.
Her editorials are right up there with the very best. Meaningful, timely, engaging, thought-provoking.
Jan gets very involved in organizations that address social issues around homelessness, around hunger.
Jan would describe herself as a servant leader, and that was clear.
She changes the status quo, breaks gender stereotypes, and pushes for gender equality in the workplace.
Even though this is 2023, it's still kind of a male-dominated industry. The fact that Jan's general manager of a top station in a top company says a lot about her abilities.
She has had this long-standing commitment to changing the way the news business looks. Jan, through her hiring, was able to make the newsroom, for example, at WISN, look like Milwaukee, a very diverse place.
And she leaves a lasting impact on her peers.
When you're working with Jan, she always brings her A game.
She's able to bring people together. She gets people to do things that they don't necessarily think that they can do themselves.
Jan is a good person inside and out, and you can always count on her.
Leadership, excellence, service, integrity, passion. That's Jan Wade.
Congratulations, Jan Wade, to be honored by the Silver Circle. Welcome to the club. So deserved.
So on behalf of the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, thank you so much, Jan, for everything you've done for the WBA, but also for the broadcasting industry in the state of Wisconsin.
Thank you, Jan. You have inspired all of us to be the best versions of ourselves. You truly are leading the way. Congratulations.
Please welcome 2023 Silver Circle inductee, Jan Wade.
Take a minute to thank our Chicago Midwest chapter of NATAS. I want to thank the Silver Circle Committee for picking all of us, picking me. Thank you very much. It's just such an honor. And I want to take a minute to congratulate Glenn and Rick with a special shout out to my friend Eddy, who I work with every week for editorials. He makes me look good every week. And Dwight, another fellow inductee. So congratulations to all of you. I want to take a minute again to thank Scott and his team for a beautiful and tribute to me. Scott, thank you. It was very touching. And when I walked in today, I got the ultimate surprise in seeing my former boss and good friend Deb Durbin actually flew in to be with me today. So Deb, that huge little and I want to recognize I love you guys. And I want to thank my management team who's also here. I can't do anything without them, and they are terrific. And, of course, my two friends sitting at the table, Maureen and Beth. And thank you both for what you said in the tape as well. We go back many years and are traveling companions as well as good friends. So appreciate both of you. Love you. And Michelle Betterkind, I know you're here, wherever you are. I just want to recognize Michelle. She's the CEO and president of the WBA. Now I see you, Michelle. And also a wonderful friend of mine. I have the very good fortune of being the president of her board right now, the chair of her board. So, Michelle, thank you for driving over today and being with me. I appreciate that. So, 4 minutes to do 40 years, it's pretty impossible. That's why I'm so grateful that the tape kind of told the story. But it's been a wonderful 40 years. I mean, it just seems like I just began. And I know I hopefully don't look like I've been doing this for 40 years. Hopefully the younger photos in the tape are the ones you'll remember. But clearly maybe a few gray hairs from running stations, I suppose, after a period of time. But I'll just start with this. You know, I'm one of the lucky people in the world that found something that I was passionate about. And I think when you love what you do, hopefully you're going to do it well. And I try to do that every day. That is always my goal when I go in. But I simply love the work. And I think that what we do in broadcasting, what we do as journalists, matters. And I hope you agree. My journey in broadcasting started very serendipitously I went to Ball State University. I started as a business major with a journalism minor. And my real sister, Susan, connected me to her sorority sister, a woman named Janet Carnell. She was a professor at Ball State. And my sister said to me, you know, you really need to go talk to her because she's really doing this really fun, she's teaching this really fun course. It's a new major. I think you would like it. So I went over and talked to Professor Carnell, got into her class, and the rest is kind of history. What was business became broadcasting. So that's literally how I turned the corner and ended up where I am today. So that was the start from my real sister to her sorority sister. So, and I got lucky because, again, I love it. I went down many paths in the business. I started as a reporter, got to shoot and edit with a person that became the news director at WISN, Steve Olsick. Steve Olsick was the Wave Country reporter when I was a mere intern learning how to do my job. I shot for him, he shot for me, and it's very, I guess, bittersweet. I actually ran into him in 2008 at Cardinal Stritch at an Emmy event, and he was suffering from MS at that point. But I want you to know he remembered me. He looked up and goes, I remember you. And I definitely remembered him. He left a lasting memory on me. And I have had many mentors and people who have guided me along the way. Lord knows you aren't successful without people that open up doors for you. And Deb, certainly you have opened up doors for me many times. But you have to have that opportunity. Skill is one thing, but opportunity, when it comes knocking, you've got to answer that. You got to open that door and answer that call. I got into programming through a guy named Bob Jones. He was a very eccentric man in Louisville, and he had me producing shows pretty much out of the gate. And he gave me a very scary assignment in producing a live 6-hour Derby broadcast before I moved into creative services. So that was a little scary, but I want you to know we did it fairly well. And that was fun, and that's what gave me the bug of wanting to do programming. A woman named Katie Bates got me into promotion. I spent 14 years in promotion at various places. And what I did was in Louisville, I learned what anybody would teach me because I knew nothing when I got there. And anybody would say to me, do you want to learn how to do this? I'd say yes. And by the time I had been there for 3 years and moved into creative services, I went to visit my real sister Carol in Minneapolis on vacation. And I told her, I said, I'm just going to check out some television stations while I'm here in Minneapolis. I don't know that they have any openings, but I'm going to just check it out. I went knocking on the door of WCCO television, and a woman named Martha Pell Stanville from Macon, Georgia, opened that door for me, and eventually hired me. And Martha was from Macon, had the most southern accent I've ever heard. The longer she was in the Twin Cities, in the Northland, the more southern she became. And she had a dog named Killer, who became Killa, because that's what she always said. And whenever she needed me for anything, it was, Jan, how much do you love me? And so that's how kind of Martha, but she also opened a lot of doors for me, and Deb knows Martha and knows this to be true. And so Martha Pell Stanville was just a wonderful, eccentric woman to work for, and she got me very excited about my career and moving up, which is what we have to do in our business. We have to move up and move on to be successful. I went to WLNE and got my first management position, and then Deb came calling and hired me in Nashville when Knight Ridder owned the station there. And Deb always gave me not one job, but two at least, Deb. So you gave me creative services and then programming. And then the station sold, and I ended up going down to WFLA in Tampa as creative services director. And then Deb came calling again and hired me back. So I got hired by Deb at least twice, Deb, that I know of. So Deb is very instrumental in me being here now and also being a general manager. So if anyone at my station is mad at me, it would be her fault. Because Deb, you did it, right? So anyway, when I got back to Nashville the second time, Deb again made me creative services director, program director, and I think I had an operations position at one point. But we had started the Children's Act then, and I know we needed to create a children's show, so we created Kids to Kids. We were Channel 2. And I got cheap labor for that show. My two nephews appeared, and they were actually in the tape. Hope you all didn't mind. You looked a little younger there than you do now. But My older nephew, Jeff, was a reporter, and my younger nephew, Nick, did what we called the kicker at that point. And Nick, even then, you wanted an agent for yourself. So hopefully you're doing okay now, though. I know you are. So we did a lot of things in Nashville, Children's Act, the Kids to Kids, the Ann Hope Profiles, where I got to meet famous people like Naomi Judd, Maury Povich. We did many shows. And somebody just asked me the other day, did I ever want to be a general manager? And the answer really is, I never really thought about it until once again, Deb took me to lunch one day and ordered a bottle of champagne, and she goes, well, we're sending you over to Knoxville and we're going to make you general manager. And at that point, I'm like, okay, let's go do this. So I went over to Knoxville and still got to work for Deb. I think I worked for Deb for about 22 years of my career, and went over to Knoxville. She dropped me off in Knoxville and said, okay, see ya, and left me there, and I was there for 13 years and just had a wonderful job. And I think both in Nashville and Knoxville, I learned the importance of community and what that means. You can't come run a station without caring about the community that you're in. And Deb really taught me a lot about that, because we did a lot of hunger work there and many other things. But when I got to Knoxville, I really truly understood the importance of that. I served on several boards, raised a lot of money for a lot of causes, including Katrina. We raised a lot of money and did a lot of hunger and a lot of United Way, and I was on many, many boards, and still am today, because I think that's extremely important. From Knoxville, I started thinking it was probably time to move. So I had my sights set on Hearst Television, and every time I would go to New York, I would go bug David Barrett, who was the head of Hearst Television at that point. Every time I was in town, I'd go have coffee with him. He was the nicest man. He didn't have anything, but he would always have coffee with me. And then one day he called me in 2006 and said, okay, I think we have a job for you. And I said, oh, okay, great. Where am I going? And he goes, well, how do you feel about New Orleans? Well, that was right after Katrina. And so I said, well, if that's where you want to send me, okay, but I'd rather not go to New Orleans at this point. Not that I had anything against it, but at this point I didn't think it was the right thing to do. So the next time he called me, he said, I'm going to send you to Milwaukee. And I'd never been to Milwaukee. And now 16 years later, here I am. And I've loved every minute of it. I am at a fabulous television station filled with wonderfully talented people. I am very lucky that I get to go in every day and work with this great staff. They're all exceptional. And I think together we've done wonderful work, also in the community, raising money, hopefully doing good for others, hopefully helping people in need. And that really is, in addition to what we do in terms of serving and informing and keeping people safe, telling people about severe weather. Mark Baden is here. It's a job we take seriously. Again, I will say again what I said earlier. I think what we do matters. It matters every day, particularly when you live in so many different ways to get news, and so much of it is not correct. This is where local television really shines, and that's what we do, and that's who we are. So I will close by saying the same thing I started with saying. I'm a lucky person that I found something that I truly love, that I'm passionate about. I am just as excited to go into work today as I was going into work 40 years ago when I walked into WLKY TV in Louisville, Kentucky, and learned anything anyone would teach me. I'm still learning today. I will always learn. I never want to ever think that I've learned everything, because I think that's impossible to do in your business, even though you've been doing it for 40 years. So again, I'm grateful. I'm thankful to be where I am. I love my station. I love all the people that are there. And again, thank you for inducting me into the Silver Circle. This is an incredible honor, and I'm very touched that everyone is here. And Deb, thank you for coming in from Nashville. You have made my day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan.
Rick Rietbrock may be the hardest working sports producer in Milwaukee. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say he is. I vouch for that because I was fortunate enough to work with Rick for a time at WTMJ TV here in Milwaukee. If you have seen a sports story that brought you to tears, if you have seen a sports special that made you kind of sit back and say, wow, you have seen Rick's work. Here is 2023 Silver Circle honoree, Rick Rietbrock.
From sports stories to sports shows, what you see on Channel 4 has probably been touched, guided, or produced by Rick Rietbrock. For more than 30 years, Rick has been a member and leader of the TMJ4 sports team.
He is one of the most indispensable people at the station. Whether it was doing sportscasts, doing specials, doing Packers Live Now, he's always behind the scenes. I'm so glad to talk about him because he won't talk about himself, and he makes it all happen.
He's the leader of the sports department, has been. You know, I think we're the face, but he's the man that puts it all together.
A farm boy who grew up in Sheboygan County with a sports-loving family. There were plenty of chores to be done, but that didn't stop Rick from following sports.
He learned to read by reading the sports pages.
A natural athlete, he played high school sports. Despite his love for all things Wisconsin, he chose to attend college at Notre Dame. His passion for sports continued to grow with play-by-play gigs and small jobs in radio and newspaper. He landed a TV internship one summer at TMJ4. That eventually led to full-time editor and sports producer positions.
I can't remember the first time I met him, but what I know about him is fundamental decency. You know, I've worked in this business for close to 40 years, and he's as good as I've worked with.
Rick loves covering the big events. He's been to a Rose Bowl, 3 Super Bowls, and the Olympics. But as a producer and editor, much of his time on the road is spent in satellite trucks and makeshift editing suites.
Rick's the guy that's literally buried in the bunker somewhere, editing in the morning, all day, late at night. You wonder when he sleeps. You think he's a vampire.
The funny part is just that I used to joke with you that, were you a robot? Because you didn't seem human. You could do so much, and you would go milk the cows after you had worked an entirely long day.
Rick celebrates the victories behind the scenes of both his favorite teams and those of his teammates.
That was so cool, and it was so surreal for me to be having that moment. He thought it was awesome because he could tell how special of a moment that was for me.
I think in this business, you know, you gotta be on the edge. You gotta be in that different lane, and I think that him and I have always been that. You know, I mean, we got Dwayne Wade because I used to cover the Heat at the Pfister, and he just smoked it.
After promotion to executive producer, Rick started producing Packers shows for the Packers Network.
He's out to make you look good. He knows what you want. He's not going to set you up for failure.
He estimates he's produced more than 600 coaches shows, Packers shows, and local specials. Rick is known for working long hours and his tedious record keeping.
Before there was Google, there was Rick. Whatever you needed to know about the Brewers or the Packers or whatever, it was there. It was right there. So you would just turn to Rick and say, well, what happened in this game and what happened there? And he knew. The thing about Rick is he's cool. I mean, some production people get it done by yelling. Rick is as quiet as a church mouse, but there's a confidence there. And as a performer on the air, when I know he's behind the scenes, I know it's going to get done the right way.
Along the way, he became a cool dad, introducing his kids to sports.
Yeah, he's been really interested in sports ever since I was born, and I got to see a lot of cool games like Packers games, Brewers games, and even a Notre Dame football game.
We both have very aligned interests. We both love our Wisconsin sports teams. We always have something to talk about.
Rick has accumulated a number of awards, including an Emmy and an Edward R. Murrow. But his coworkers say he is the last person to worry about accolades and awards.
I think the best conversations we've had weren't about sports. It was about his family.
You know, we're so proud of him and happy for him that he's recognized and that Mom and Dad would be so proud of him.
I'm really proud of him. I was talking to my family about it and we all laughed because we thought that we would never hear that he won the award if it wasn't for my mom telling us about it, because he's just so humble, and we're just all really proud of him, and it's so cool to see that all of his hard work is paying off.
Please welcome 2023 Silver Circle inductee, Reebrock.
Now comes the terrifying part. I don't even like talking on the phone, so this is going to be a trip. But when I was thinking about today, I was reminded of a Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame banquet that we were working on, and the inductees were Chris Jackie and Kabir Bajabiamila. Kabir could talk now, and people at the Hall of Fame were terrified that he was going to blow through the 10 minutes that was allotted. Chris Jackie didn't even want to give a speech and was offering to sell his minutes to Kabir. And when it came banquet night, we were kind of holding our breath, and Kabir came in at a tidy 14 minutes, and we breathed a huge sigh of relief. Chris Jackie went 27 minutes. So you never know what's going to happen in this business. And growing up on a farm, I had no idea what was going to happen. I had my hands on the steering wheel of a tractor or a shovel, but my head was listening to Bob Uecker, Jim Irwin, Eddy Doucette. And my parents knew pretty quickly that I probably wasn't going to take over the farm. About that same time, I realized I wasn't going to play in the NBA, so we had to figure out something along the way. But the lessons you learn on the farm pretty much travel anywhere. And it's all about team, it's all about working hard, working with each other, being optimistic, and you just kind of figure things out along the way. Hank Stoddard called me in my dorm room at Notre Dame and told me, yeah, there's an internship available if you want it, and that pretty much changed my life from being going towards the newspaper direction into the TV world. I walked into the newsroom and I just loved the culture right away. Hank and John Gillespie were the guys that give me all kinds of opportunities early on, none of which I was prepared for, but I was available, so I got them. And it was Gillespie's idea to call down and have me paged right before kickoff of the Orange Bowl one year. So instead of watching Notre Dame get another win, I was setting up a live shot for Barry Alvarez, who was the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, to talk on our show after the game was over, to talk about his new job at the University of Wisconsin the next day. Along the way, Dennis Krause was probably the guy that has meant the most to me in my career. Even though he's not that much older than me, he's always seemed like the adult in the room, and is just impeccably prepared, universally respected, and a great source for candid advice, emphasis on candid. Sometimes that wasn't the greatest, but it was very much appreciated. Kevin Hunt is not like Dennis Krause at all. Still an incredible influence on me, and as you know, he'll change the way you look at things, and that was very valuable at a time that I needed it. Jesse Garcia has gone on to do so many things in so many different areas, but it was great to be along the ride while she was figuring that out back in those days in the sports department. My current team, Rod Burks, as you might tell, has a little bit of personality that can bounce out of the room. Also the ability to charm just about anybody. Delaney Bry, our Texas Spitfire. If you walk out of an interaction with Delaney and you're not smiling, I think that's a you problem. My fellow small town guy, Lance Allen. We kind of represent the little guy here and there. Hardworking guy that has been doubted so many times along the way and now has become one of the leading voices in Wisconsin sports through sheer will and hard work. Appreciate sharing the office with you guys. The rest of the TMJ management team there, I love working with you guys. I've had some great news directors, Jim Prather, Jeff Kiernan, Tim. It's an honor to work with you these last couple of years. I value our partnership so much. I appreciate you. Along the way, there's people, not just managers, but not even in your sports office, but people you deal with that are kind of the gotta have it guys. Like Devontae Adams used to have Aaron Rodgers. The people that, when things are kind of tough, they're the ones you count on. I like to think that I'm that for some people. If you're at one of my tables, you've been that for me over the course of the last couple of years. Either the early days, Susan, Dan Seelan, or some of the latecomers like Chad, Mike Ryan. I appreciate you guys very much, and when the chips are down, I know that you are somebody that I count on. My home team, my favorite team. Got my Aunt Diane, my mother-in-law Nancy. Nothing but love and support. I appreciate you guys so much. I got bonus parents. My parents aren't with us, sadly. This day would mean a lot to them, and I appreciate them so much. My sisters, Kim and Terry, who have been my biggest cheerleaders, advocates, confidants. I work in sports, and they did real things in their lives, and they're lawyers and nurses, actually helping people. But they are fiercely loyal, blood family, and for that, I'm forever grateful. They also brought my niece and nephew, who kind of gave me my training wheels to have my own kids. And it's just so great to see that you've grown into these thoughtful, caring adults. It's been a blast to watch you grow up. But kids will kind of change everything for you. And Jim Angeli, former photog at our station, I used to give him endless grief because every weekend he was talking about some soccer game he was going to. Usually it was in Indianapolis or something. And he said, "You just wait, buddy, you'll be there." I hated soccer, and I didn't see that coming, but lo and behold, I'm the one going to London for a soccer trip, and now I'm checking the Twitter page of some guy named Fabrizio Romano for transfer news. I'm also driving to volleyball tournaments with Carson and debating whether J. Cole really is the greatest lyricist of our time, and asking Isley why Olivia Rodrigo is so sad. But really, I'm just trying to stay off of her TikToks. Mark Waz, I am so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy that you're retired, because in my position, my two most asked questions, one of them would go something like, "Hey, I just interviewed this guy, and his grandfather was the backup left guard for the '72 Packers. Do we have any video?" And number two on that list is some guy would walk in gingerly and say, "What's the deal with Waz?" I don't have to answer that anymore, so my days got a lot better. My kids are my heartbeat, but they're also my partners in tormenting my beautiful wife, Kim. I'm a little bit laid back, perhaps a lot laid back. Kim is not laid back. Kim is a walking crisis, and one of my kids will have a hangnail, and she knows somebody who had a 6-month hospital stay because of a hangnail. But I like to think that I've rubbed off on her a little bit. I know she's rubbed off on me a little bit. I think being opposites in so many ways is a secret sauce. We were working at TMJ together for a couple of years, and then we worked on a Packers show together, and then the Packers show got canceled, and we won an Emmy, and then we started dating. So It's been kind of a cool little turnabout, so thank you so much. Sometime along the way, my kids would always come home, and I don't know if it was career day at school or whatever, but they'd say, Dad, what is your job? What exactly do you do? And there's not a quick way to answer that necessarily, but Ryan Scott will appreciate. There was an old commercial for BASF, a chemical innovation company. They said, we don't make the dress, we make it brighter. We don't build the planes, we make them lighter. So I've always felt like I didn't get the Badgers to the Rose Bowl, I didn't get the Packers to the Super Bowl, and I didn't have anything to do with lighting the Olympic flame. But I was part of a team that hopefully made it a little more informative and a little more fun to watch along the way. And a lot of times in sports these days, we hear that it's not personal, it's business. Well, for me, it's not business. It's very personal, and because of you, most of you people out there, is why it's something that I love to do and a place that I love to go. I thank you so much, and I'm honored to be part of this committee.
So excited I dropped my script. Guess that's why there are numbers on pages, right? Okay. Our next inductee is John Eddy. And John wasn't exactly born into a career in broadcasting, but he discovered the joy of what would be his life's work while he was in high school. John has enjoyed an incredible career at WISN 12, spanning nearly 4 decades, filled with awards and television programs that have benefited from his skills and his dedication. Here is more about 2023 Silver Circle honoree, John Eddy.
The definition of a genius is someone with an exceptional natural capacity of intellect, especially as shown in creative and original work. To describe John Eddy as a creative genius would be putting that term mildly.
You rolling?
Working in television wasn't always his dream. In the most John Eddy
way possible, he sort of fell into broadcasting. That is the Dwight's world, right? So I just stumbled into it. I didn't want to do like that. Starting his career almost 40 years ago, John has had his hands on a little bit of everything. When he first got here, moved from staging to graphics to directing shows.
I think he was just testing the waters to see what he would like most.
He's literally learned every skill. It makes him extraordinary.
He's an Eagle Scout, so I think he's always had this in him to want to excel at things. Yes, this looks great.
Some may even call him the Renaissance man of broadcast television, a 10-time Emmy Award winner for shows like On Assignment with Kathy Michaelby, 12's Season to Celebrate, a holiday favorite, celebrating our veterans with honor. Oh, thank you! Flight 50, a mission of thanks. And diving deep into Wisconsin politics with Upfront.
John was such an instrumental part of Upfront. John did everything. He was, and he was not just a jack of all trades. He was good at all of those trades. Kind of glad that John never auditioned for the Upfront host job, because if he did, I think he probably would have done that better than I did.
Oh, Dee, they're here already. Yet one of his most proud, street-smart kids.
We're the street-smart kids, street-smart.
His work is anything but simple. It's dynamite, it's dramatic, it is captivating.
John has an obsession for making good television.
He has this vision in his mind of where we need to go next.
Hey, Street Smart Sydney is back.
He'll get something in his head and he'll say, let's take a look at this, and we'll set a bunch of stuff up and that's not how I want it. And so we tear it apart and we start over, and eventually we'll get to something that is good.
Bingo.
Everything you see on TV that is perfect, John has a finger in that.
Genuinely driven to create the best of the best, no matter what project is put in front of him.
We were doing a obit piece on our colleague Dwayne Gay. And when he passed, we had done an interview with his wife, and we were looking for a shot to complete the story. And as John was scrolling through the video, he saw two birds in a bush, and one flew away. And that's genius, because it's poetry.
It's freaking cool. Yes, it is. I hope I look good, Steve.
He's so honest, which is very good, because he will never tell you what you want to hear. He will tell you the truth.
Oh, you know why that clip is on there? My pants? I couldn't keep them up. That is true.
You are watching 12 News on Assignment.
Both John and I believed in the organic nature of storytelling. That sometimes you'd be on a shoot and you'd come to know something you didn't know, and you had to go with it because you had to let your mind go where the truth took it.
Everything that he seems to touch turns pretty much to gold.
A lot has changed in broadcast television over the last 40 years. But what hasn't is John's dedication to making great TV.
Everyone in the audience should know how humble he is and how lucky we are to have worked with him.
For someone who's behind the scenes, he has left his mark.
Congratulations, John, on your entrance to the Silver Circle. What a richly deserved honor.
Well, that goes back to the blind squirrel. Maybe it's the story of my life.
Please welcome 2023 Silver Circle inductee, John Eddy.
I'm going to stick to the script because I cannot do it as well as Rick did, nor Jan. So the good news, it'll be on time. So thank you. No, really, thank you. Thank you for this wonderful and frankly somewhat overwhelming honor. This is a true story. When I received the call from Mark on the Emmy board and he gave me the good news about this incredible honor, my first reaction as a somewhat... See, I can't even read this in front of you guys. Needless to say, I was horrified at first. And I'm like, well, does anyone ever turn these things down? But then I thought about it, and I'm like, no, this is an honor, and it's beautiful, and it's great. It turns out this does have a happy ending. But anyways, I almost immediately began to fret about the looming deadlines and wondered if I would embarrass myself when this day came. And I guess there's still time for that. I might be in the process of doing that right now. But, but once I started the journey to this day and I started meeting some of those deadlines, I found myself excited and proud and thankful for so many things. So thank you for this honor, truly. Thank you for the gift of getting me to stop and think about what an awesome ride this has been. The exercise of reflecting on my 40 years in this line of work has been quite a blessing. This blind squirrel really did find the nut for him. That's true. So as I dug through the archives of tapes, and anybody knows I got a whole closet and everything I ever shot is in there. Rick, you probably got some of that too, right? Just piles of stuff, you know where it is. Anyways, as I started digging through there and as we were getting ready for the tribute tape, people would come to me. Nicole and Steve, by the way, thank you for that tape. It was really touching that you spent so much time and effort on that. Anyways, as I dug through the tapes that contained much of the last 25 years of my career of doing important local television, I was overwhelmed with memories, the struggles and the miracles that were part of so many of these productions. So it kind of went like this. Nicole would come and ask me if I knew where to find some video, which was her way of telling me to go get some video. And I would go find the requested video, but I would bring back a couple more clips that I thought she might like. And it would be followed by some stories like this one. So here was one, and so she probably got sick of asking me about this because I'd always have a story to tell about what I had found. So one would have gone like this. Oh, I have this great video from Season to Celebrate at Trimborn Farms. It was this incredible night. We invited some reenactors, and we were telling stories of Christmases of long ago. and it started to snow these giant, awesome snowflakes. The visuals were amazing, and even a blind photographer would bring back some beautiful footage. So that year, we were featuring 2 songs from White Christmas, so spontaneously, we brought everyone to the barn, set up a camera, created a scene from White Christmas where they open the barn doors, and everybody looks out and sees all this beautiful, magical snow falling down. So she kind of, would humor me and then just take the shots she wanted and wasn't interested in my stuff. But anyways, it also was fun to see me with hair. That was, you see hey, I had hair back then. That is kind of cool. So the other thing it brought back was, you start thinking about all the people you've been able to work with. And what an amazing list of absolute rock stars. From the early days of learning my craft with people like Candy Nichols and Gary Eichstead, to doing commercials with Shar Engstrom and Rose Miller, all preparing me for the next chapters with the likes of Rita Aliman, Mike Goucher, Susan McDonald, and Matt Smith. I would have to say in 2002, the floodgates for me, the floodgates of good fortune, really opened up for me. So thank you to Frank Biancuso, who you saw in Jan's tape, for his commitment to doing more high-quality local productions, and for bringing Rita Aliman to the team to team up with me and a virtual production team to accomplish these goals. Rita was allowed to dream big, and she allowed me to aim high and be a part of some very compelling programs. So thank you to Rita. She couldn't be here today. She was going to be here, but family emergency has caused her not to be here. So thank you, Rita. You were the best collaborative partner I could ever hope for. I also need to give a big thank you to the crews that did some pretty heavy lifting as I had my big ideas. So thanks to Joel Schulteis and Jeff Lenz for all their engineering magic. Thanks to Dwayne Walls for illuminating many of my visions. Thanks to all the on-air talent that was relatively good-natured as I asked for one more take. Thanks to Ben Lorber for all your help and for your attention to so many of the details. Thanks to Jan Wade for coaxing Mike Goucher out of retirement and allowing us to create Up Front, the best political talk show in the state, and that is the truth. No offense to anyone else in this market who might have one, but I'm just saying. So also thank you to Jim Steinhardt for being so generous. He's my engineering boss, and most of the things I work on aren't really engineering things, so he has to share me with other departments, and he's very gracious about that. So thank you, Jim. The acknowledgement of this award has reinforced to me how much I believe in great local television and how much I absolutely love making it. I'm excited to keep telling important and interesting stories with people like Jaron Jordan, Matt Smith, George Cometti, Patrick Palantonio, and anyone else who's up for it. Just get in line and I'd be happy. Thank you again for helping me shine a light on so many programs that I am proud to say I helped create. The opportunities that I've been given, the trust that has been placed in me, and the privilege to have worked alongside so many great people is truly something I'm forever grateful for. So thank you for the memories. Thank you.
Please welcome the Student Executive Director of the Marquette Wire and past MUTV General Manager, Andrew Amuzu.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's very lovely to see everybody's faces, a lot of familiar faces. Congratulations to the inductees. It's truly an honor on behalf of the Marquette Wire to be involved, to be amongst a room of legends, just to witness history each and every time we get to be involved or work in tandem with the professional world, the professional industry. And I know that this is truly such a special honor just to be able to recognize the achievements of the inductees today. And it's also an honor to work in tandem with the Academy. When we got the news that from Mark Saramsky, our very own, that, what do you guys think of the idea to work with the Academy to help broadcast the Silver Circle event? we're like, we can't say no to that, you know? And so it's truly an honor to be here. I quickly remember the experience that we had last year in December, actually, and when we were nominated, the Marquette Wire, for Best Newscast in the Emmys. And we took a trip down to the greatest city in the world, Chicago, and it was such a great experience being in a room full of stars. We couldn't help but be like, is that, wait, what? No, I gotta get a picture. And of course, that 360 camera, I mean, we were on that the entire time. And so, you know, it was such a great experience. But working in tandem with the Academy is something that we hope is a long-term deal. But, you know, that provided so much inspiration for us. You know, there's a quote that I always tell the organization. It's from the great Denzel Washington, that he said, "Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship." You know, that's something that when you first hear, you're like, what does that mean? You know, being able to go through that hardship, being able to persevere, that's where you really, you know, get to shine. You also realize, you know, what this truly means to the community, to the world, to ourselves. And so with that, I want to honor our student media crew back there once again. I'm going to list out their names, but this is a shout out to the live broadcast crew led by our live broadcast director, Trin Burgess. But if you guys could turn around, and if I say your name, just wave your hand. Trinity Burgess, Andrew Hubbock on the camera over here, Sarah Richardson, our general manager of METV, Richie Lyons, Kylie Brockway, Timothy Lateau, Ivy Wen, Benjamin Hansen, Megan Ostie, and Ben Sherrill. So I won't make this long, but thank you again. And I invite you all to, after this event, if you guys are interested, to check out where all the magic happens on the second floor of Johnson Hall. We are offering tours just to check out those spaces, but for sure, thank you so much for this event, and be prepared to see these faces in the professional world, you know, taking the world by storm, for sure. So thank you again.
Again, being a journalist, I'm not going to try to do the math, but 25 years from now, I would fully expect that we will see some of these folks perhaps at the next Silver Circle. Our next honoree is Glenn Reilly. A reluctant decision to take a summer television workshop for youth changed the direction of Glenn Reilly's life, and that in turn has influenced the lives of hundreds of other people. Glenn is not only a talented producer, he has shared those talents with students at NATAS as an instructor in the television production program. Here is 2023 Silver Circle inductee, Glenn Reilly.
Glenn Reilly was one of the more outstanding students that I recall here at Channel 10.
I remember when you entered the telecasting program back in the late 70s or early 80s. And I also remember your initial panic at your first TV workshop program. You successfully handled that and went on to have a very successful career at Channel 10.
You know, up until his retirement, I did not know a Channel 10 without a Glenn Reilly. He was here well before me as a student, then as a part-time employee, then as a full-time production specialist and videographer, then as supervisor of all of our studio productions, and finally as a first-year TV instructor in our academic programs. I mean, how incredible is that? And to be so well-liked and respected every step of the way.
When I think of Glenn, I think of professional. Professional in all aspects, be it shooting, lighting, or teaching.
Glenn came back, worked for us on the production crew, where he did a multitude of projects. He was camera on sports events, symphonies, concerts, you name it, Glenn was camera on that. And after a while, Glenn was promoted up to be the studio supervisor. He was actually the first African-American studio supervisor here at Channel 10.
You were a great inspiration on the production crew, You moved to the instructional side where you mentored many a young man and a young woman into a successful career.
This man knew the station, the industry, the challenges, the excuses, the expectations. Decades of students benefited from this depth of knowledge.
Glenn has influenced me like he's influenced everybody. Make sure you get it right.
While I was sad as Glenn's supervisor at the time to lose him, I was happy that he was going to the instructional side to help teach and instruct the future broadcasters.
I've known Glenn a long time friendship, long time professional person. He's top notch. He's top notch.
Glenn Reilly was more than just a coworker. He was actually a friend. He was a very good person to assist on everything and anything that anybody ever asked.
Now, as a broadcast production team member, you're often asked to do what it takes to get the production done, and done right. Now, here's a guy who shot the Great Circus Parade lying on his back after hundreds of horses passed through to get the iconic shot up through the stilt walker legs. He shot, built sets, lighting schemes, produced stories, directed segments, both in the field and live on the air. He was on camera and he did voiceover work, whatever it took.
Your cheerfulness, your endless patience, your rapport with the students was enviable.
When you say the word "I was taught by Glenn Reilly," you'd be surprised how many other people, especially in the local broadcast community here in Milwaukee, will say, "Yeah, I know a Glenn. Glenn taught me."
Television perfectionists.
You were going to approach your coursework as a professional, no excuses, no reason not to do your best. Now, that being said, despite that tough love approach, there was a great deal of love. He loved his job, he loved his students, and he was always there for those students.
I can think of no other person more deserving, on a personal bias of my own, than Glenn Reilly to receive the Silver Circle Award. Glenn has been influential in many individuals in their broadcasting careers, professionally, personally, and I'm very proud to know that I know Glenn Reilly, and I'm very proud of him receiving this award.
Please welcome 2023 Silver Circle inductee, Glenn Reilly.
I have to pay for all those kind words, I guess. Hello, everyone. You know, when I was 15 years old, one of my best friends came to my parents' house and dragged me down to MATC for a week-long minority workshop in television production. This was 1975. And we went down. I really didn't want to go. It was summertime. And I was thinking, as I sat there and I was listening to the coordinator, Carol Malone, all the different things I could be doing at that point in time in my life at 15. Riding my bike, getting a grape Jolly Good soda, chips, maybe a Hostess Twinkie or something like that for dessert. I wasn't thinking about TV at all. And then at one point, they pulled out the cameras, RCA TK somethings with a black and white camera with turret lenses. That's what I trained on. And then they turned on the studio lights, and that was all it took. That's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, was be in television production. So I came back after the week. I followed up with the week and decided that's what I'm going to do, just train on that. So I finally got into the college in 1977 and had to wait a year because the program was full. But that was all right. I was already training in my mind from the time I was 15, now I'm 17. I'm training. So at my parents' house, I would literally stand up as I'm watching TV and pretend like I was having a camera. And while I'm watching TV, when the camera would pan, I would pan. When it zoomed, I would zoom. And you can tell I'm pretty old because I got the old crank zoom. When I finally got into the program about a year later, I felt I was ready to take on the world of television production, but the classes were very, very hard. I recall that at one point in time, as Dave Ball on the video mentioned, that we had to do a half-hour production on Channel 36 to graduate. It was the last semester I had. And I had an African dance troupe from North Division High School, great group. And the day of the taping, they canceled on me. So I went to Dave Ball and I said, hey, Dave, you know, this is what happened. I'm not going to have anything to do, no show to produce or direct. And he said, Glenn, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You're one of the top 3 students in the program. I'm going to give you a passing grade. You'll just help the other students down the line for the rest of the week and next week on. Now that's what I heard. That's not what he said. Okay. What he said was, what time does your show go? 2:30. Oh, okay, it's 11 o'clock. Well, you have two choices to do here. You got 2 things you can try to do. Put another show on the air by 2:30, or at 2:30, I will come into the studio and expect to see you tap dancing for half an hour, and I get the hell out of my office. Eventually, all that hard work and such in college paid off, and I finally got hired at Milwaukee PBS in the spring of 1982. And that was just, you know, a moment in time for me, that being there and meeting all those people and working with so many talented people that gave me so much wisdom and courage to continue on in that program, the old timers as we call them. And they gave me the chance to listen to them and learn from them and grow from them. People like Liddy and Raul, you know, getting on their programs and running camera, all those different things that I was hired to do, which was camera and floor direct, teleprompter, technical director, eventually being promoted to studio supervisor and lighting director. I got to do all those things, which is just great. You know, I couldn't imagine it anymore. When we started doing productions, and I started working in productions more and more during the course of my time there, working on the shows that Milwaukee PBS had, it was amazing to meet so many different people. President Jimmy Carter, you know, I was floor director for him, and I have a great picture. I wish we had it, but it was a great picture of me stuffing a microphone cable down his pants, and the look on his face as I'm stuffing a mic cable down his pants, along with the Secret Service agents, wondering what I was doing, is amazing. Kevin Pauls and I, we went and we shot Senator, at that time, Senator Barack Obama, years ago, and so many more people. Governor Douglas Wilder, Gilbert Gottfried I met and worked with, Vanessa Williams, Mickey Rooney, Oscar Robertson, Hank Aaron, Bud Selig, the Tuskegee Airmen, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I was very fortunate being there. I realized that all the hard work I had put in, all the things we were doing at Milwaukee PBS, we were creating art. That's what we were doing. We were creating visual art. And that, to me, was just amazing, that I got to do something that was impacting people's lives. I realized that productions like the Great Circus Parade, the Milwaukee Symphony, political debates, plays, concerts, children's programs, and even sports. That's what we were doing at Milwaukee PBS back in the day. And even roughly seven local productions that took place every single week. And I had a chance to work on that. And to this day, I think fondly of those days, to have that experience, to be given the chance to do it. I'm proud of the work that we did at Milwaukee PBS. I really am. How we entertained, educated, and informed the masses. I'm very proud of that. But I'm also proud of being the first African-American studio supervisor and lighting director. Proud of being the first African-American first-year instructor for that program. There's nothing like seeing a young student come in who's thinking about television, and they see my face and they say, if he can do it, I can do it. A young person, a young kid of color. It meant so much to me to do that and to recruit and to help them along the way. And as some of the people on the video mentioned, I was tough on a lot of students, and you have to be, especially from where I came. You couldn't slack off. You couldn't do things like that. I did not have a plan B when I went to school. It was either television or nothing else. So you have to push them. God has truly been good to me in all the things I've done in my life and what I've done for this program and what the program and the station has done for me. To all those who have helped me along the way, like my parents, Robert and Annie, who supported and sacrificed so much so that my siblings and I could have a better life. My brothers, my sisters, all my family members and friends, the people that I love the most in this world. I am so grateful on this day, and I cannot comprehend why the committee thinks I am deserving of this. But I thank you all so very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Please welcome Chicago Midwest NATAS board member and chair of the Wisconsin Silver Circle Committee, Mark Zaromsky.
Hello again. Wow. This is so awesome. It's just incredible to be able to think of the distinguished careers that we're honoring. Dwight, you're up next, buddy. You're not too nervous, are you? I told him he was last, so he can stew there at his table all the way till the end. I'm here to ask you for money. But first, I want to see if I can give some money away. If you look in your program book, and this is all ad lib now, okay, but Glenn's speech was so touching, I wanted to point this out. If you look right across from Jan Wade, you see a full-page ad honoring Glenn Reilly. That ad was taken out by the parents of Eric Miller. Eric was one of our alums at UWM who unfortunately died at the age of 32. And I am so grateful to Glenn and to Kevin Pauls and to Dave Ball and others who, back in 1996, I came to them and I said, hey, I got this crazy idea. I teach broadcast journalism at UWM, and we don't have a television studio. You have a television studio, and you have students who are learning video production. Why don't we partner up and do a weekly newscast called UWM Panther Vision? And they said yes. And you want to know about impact. Read that ad, and then read an ad from some of the Panther Vision alums who took out an ad to congratulate Glenn. Eric, when he was caught in the terrorist attacks in Mumbai, Channel 6 interviewed him by telephone a few days later. There were bullets flying by his head, and there were bombs going off. And they said, and he was shooting video. And they said, how did you do it? And he said, well, I just put into practice what they taught me at UWM Journalism Department and through Panther Vision. So we have money to give away. We have established a scholarship in Eric's name. We give out a $2,000 scholarship every year to any college student at any Wisconsin institution of higher education who excels in video storytelling. So if you know of college students, please pass along the word, and you can find details on our Facebook page, which is listed in that ad. And we need to get more applications, and we would love to give money away. So now I'm going to ask you for money, because I really am supposed to be talking about the Academy and our scholarship fund. As John mentioned at the beginning, we take great pride in fostering future generations of television professionals. We also take pride in our chapter that we are one of the strongest chapters in the nation in awarding scholarships. Since the mid-1990s, our charitable arm, the NATAS Chicago Foundation, has awarded more than $600,000 to college and high school students. We give up to $36,000 per year. So again, if you have interns, if you know of any students, encourage them to apply. And if you would like to donate, to our scholarship fund, you can find information on our website, chicagoemmyonline.org. And one final note before we move on, it is not too early to nominate deserving candidates for next year's Silver Circle. Nomination materials are on our website in the Silver Circle section. And again, it's chicagoemmyonline.org. We accept applications throughout the year, but the deadline for next year's class is July 1st. So please think of people that are deserving in our industry, whether at your station or not. People that you may compete against, that you highly respect, and nominate. And we'll get our Silver Circle Selection Committee together, and we'll do this again next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. A multi-Emmy Award winner, Dwight Moss had his first exposure to television production at the same high school studio as John Eddy. If there wasn't a plaque up there before today, there should be one there now. Dwight also began working at WISN 12. His early start as a part-time production assistant grew into a career directing news programs and specials. Here is a look at the career of 2023's Silver Circle honoree, Dwight Moss.
Stand by and fade up cue.
You're watching WISN 12 News at 5.
If it's been news in Milwaukee in the past 36 years,
Nick Bohr reporting live.
Dwight Moss probably helped get it on television. He's seen many of the city's highs.
Generations of Bucks fans have been waiting for this moment.
And lows.
Hey, watch it, watch it.
Camera 2 with title.
From the director's chair in the WISN TV control room.
Take cue, Patrick.
There's absolutely confidence when Dwight is directing the newscast.
Dwight started at the station in 1987, fresh out of MATC. Staging director Dwayne Walls, a college classmate and close friend, turned Dwight on to Channel 12.
People have been calling me Dwight and calling him Dwayne for 40 plus years now. I was never insulted being called Dwight because, you know, he's a good guy. He is much beloved, so it was not an insult at all to be called Dwight by mistake or sometimes even on purpose.
Okay. If they kept such records, I think Dwight and I would probably hold the record for probably most producer-director shows done together.
Producer Stephanie Miller partnered with Dwight on newscasts and sports specials for 23 years.
He always likes to surprise me. If he can make me go, ooh, once during the show, I think that brings him great pleasure. He likes to surprise me with graphics and camera shots and things that I'm not expecting.
Channel 12 News! And there's been a sea change in television technology in 3 decades. Dwight has stayed on top of it. And as WISN's senior director, he's also responsible for training the next generation.
Dwight's the type of guy who's like, he wants you to have passion, enjoy your work that you do. So when I got here, he was like, be creative, find new ways to incorporate a better way of telling a newscast, telling a story.
Dwight's numerous honors includes 3 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Newscast, Spot News, and a public affairs special, State of Addiction.
State of Addiction special.
People are dying every day.
He also received a Black Excellence Award and commendations from the mayor and county executive. And with all of this on his resume, Dwight could have gone just about anywhere in television, but he chose to stay here in his hometown.
I came here 20 years ago, and that's when I first met Dwight. And I learned in a hurry that he is all about Milwaukee. He's from here, he takes pride in the city, in the community, he cares. He wants what's best for the city.
Dwight gives back to the community through his involvement in the Wisconsin Black Media Association, a local chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists.
He's one of the planners. When we need somebody to do something, we can call on Dwight because he's there to give that helping hand.
And he's also willing to give a hand up to aspiring broadcasters and technicians.
We had young people coming in, he was talking to them. They were asking him questions, mentoring. Mentoring is important, especially looking at somebody who looks like you. If you don't see somebody who looks like you, you don't think, oh, maybe I don't belong, but you do belong.
He's generous, he's caring, he's always willing to share.
He has this real connection to the area and he cares, and that really matters when you think about living in a community and working in a community and what we do and the job that we do to inform the community.
connected to the community and his co-workers.
So happy together on Channel 12.
He considers them his television family. And if there's an after-hours social event, well, Dwight probably arranged it. That's just one of the many reasons his co-workers hold him in such high regard.
Dwight, congratulations on this amazing honor. You've helped me greatly. I wouldn't be here literally without your help and support.
Dwight, congratulations on this great achievement. Well deserved.
Congratulations, Dwight. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with you.
Dwight, I just want to say congratulations. This honor is so well deserved.
10, 9.
We'll see you back
8,
here for 12
7.
At 6.
Roll 1. Fade to black. Great show, everybody. Thank you.
Please welcome 2023 Silver Circle inductee, Dwight Moss.
Okay. Rick, you're right, the part that we hate. Wow. Give me a moment. Thank you, first of all. It is Sunday, so of course I have to thank God for all his blessings. I want to thank our chief photographer, Jason Hunter, who could not make it here, who edited that package. And a huge thank you to a very dear friend of mine, Susan McDonald Roberts, who she came out of retirement. Susan's been retired. She was like the producer for Upfront. She's retired. She came back just to put that together. So, Susan, that means so much to me. Thank you very much. Give her a hand, please. Thank you to everyone at the Silver Circle to even consider me to be inducted into this prestigious group of incredibly talented journalists. And by journalists, I do include the photographers, the engineers, production staff, directors. When Mark Saramsky called me to give me the news, it literally took a while for it to set in that this was happening. And when it finally did dawn on me, I thought, hey, not bad for a kid who grew up in a 53206 zip code. So, and contrary to what has been documented, a lot of good has come from that area code and still comes from that area code. And I and a few others in this room are living proof of some of the good that comes out of that neighborhood. So never in my wildest dreams did I ever consider I would be up here delivering a speech. And in preparation for this, it does give you an opportunity to look back, as my friend John Eddy said, at your career and examine all the amazing projects, all the fun and not so fun stories, and all the amazingly talented people that I had the great fortune to work with and still work with, and learn from, and in some cases become friends with. And in fact, the other day, John, I did warn you, John, that I would put you in my speech. We were getting ready to do a cut-in, and we were just talking about, just say, hey, John's like, hey, you finished your speech yet? And I was like, well, not really. And he's just like, well, not did I. And we didn't we were both talking, and it's just like, well, God, it was like, we really don't want to give a laundry list of everything you did, but you just kind of want to take that moment to reflect and thank everybody and think about what you did. And all the people that really gave us the opportunities along the way. And so, I guess the starting point would be back at John Marshall High School, which, and Mike Uche, by the way, went to John Marshall High School as well, by the way, in case you probably didn't know that. So they had a broadcasting specialty program. And by the way, if it wasn't for, I was gonna go into music first, and then I'd switch to broadcasting. So yeah, I think I made me the better choice as far as a paycheck goes. And we did get the opportunity to work with such great teachers like Thomas K. and John Holmes. And then I went to UWM and I transferred to MATC. And that's where I learned and developed skills that eventually lead me to getting hired at Channel 12. Those instructors, Dave Ball, who you saw in Glenn's package, Dave, who's obviously living a life in sunny, where is he living now? Arizona, of course. Dave Ball, the late Evo O'Hare, Joe Bauer, Demir Breback, I call him Uncle Danny, Joe Ochoa, Dwayne Rodriguez, and Glenn Reilly, who's also being honored today, as you guys saw. Thank you, Glenn, by the way, for everything you've done in the past. And then the folks who helped me get into the station that would be my home away from home. Bill Lowry, who was a former production manager who hired me. Dwayne Walls, who you saw, my buddy Dwayne, we went to MATC together, graduated the same year, and yet still to this day, people still call me Dwayne and Dwayne Dwight. So just call us D, and one of us will answer. Dean Maytag, he was the one who actually gave me a chance to direct when there was a spot open. See, this is why I don't like giving speeches, because now I got to turn pages and all this stuff. The amazing directors that I work with and pretty much learn from, everybody from Gary Seymour, Rich Schmig, my late friend John Madej, who really taught me a lot, Tom Henson, who was like probably, as long as I remember, he was like one of the first African-American directors at the station. And in all my time there, it's only been him and me. So, like Liddy said, that does say something. When you see someone that looks like you, it really does. So I hope for the future journalists back there, I hope you look at me and you look at Liddy and you look at Glenn, you say, okay, yes, we can do this too. The super talented, Dave Janicek, I'm sorry. Sandy Edelman, very dear friend, who also taught me so much of directing. The super talented staging crew when I was a floor director there, which at that point I was considered like a golden age of my time there. Pat Fay, Dwayne Walls, Mark Shaw, Tom Gordon, Doug Lavalier, who worked for Austin City Limits. Our late great friend Bill Herman, miss you, Billy. When we all worked together back the early 90s, it really didn't seem like we were working, because even though we were busy all the time, it just felt like you were working with your brothers. And every time you walked in, it's like, God, I'm gonna get to work with my brother today. And it just made it so much more fun. The technical crew, and God, there's like a whole list, like Sean Downs, Dennis Piggy, who's now living in San Diego, John Eddy, John Kolakowski, by the way, he should be here next year, so just throwing it out there, just kind of manifestation. Get John Kolakowski there, because he is truly an amazing guy to work with, and just a very talented individual. All the producers, and if I could come up with a Mount Rushmore of producers, Laura Trindlepoulos, Carol Hunter, Tanya Simpson, who's working for ABC in New York, Emily Annunziata, my work wife, Stephanie Miller, who you saw in the package. She's taking part in this great little medical program to hopefully that she can walk again. Stephanie, AKA Slugger, I miss you, Slugger. Rita Alamon, who, and I wish Rita was here, because those of us who know Rita, and if you don't know Rita, get the chance to know Rita. It's like a master's class in how to do storytelling and how to do television, and just a master's class on how to be a great human being. Everybody loves Rita. The incredible journalists and reporters and anchor teams I got to work with. Patrick, thank you so much for those kind words, my friend. Mark Baden, you know I love you, buddy. Basically, I mean, like, for the 5 o'clock, I've been doing the 5 o'clock, it's like Stephanie and I, for like years. And for a while, it was just like Stephanie and I, Patrick, Mark, and Toya. And they have been like my longest family. And nothing against the other anchors. I love all the anchors I work with. But those guys, because we've been through so much. And like I say, Patrick and Mark, thank you guys. I really do appreciate you guys. The projects I got into working on, from telethons to phone banks, traveling for Monday Night Football, and Badger games with Dan Needles, Dan will remember, Andy Candy, who are two of the best at what they do. Working on political debates, thank you, Renee. Community specials, which I truly do love doing. Putting together like some stuff like Black History PSAs, which I was really proud of doing that. Thanks to the late Joe Bishop for that. Big Bang shows, Holiday Lights, Season to Celebrate. Got all these crazy cold New Year's Eve specials that we used to do. A lot of people don't remember this. We used to do like these New Year, oh God, it was not a fun way to ring in a new year, let me tell you. Just saying. I made so many incredible friends, Steve and Misha, who are here. And my other friends, I have some other friends who are not in television. They're back over there. You guys know Tom, Paul, and Jim, thank you guys. You know, we are family. I love you guys so much, thank you. my WBMA family, Liddy, Everett, Joanne. I am so proud and honored to be part of that organization, especially over the last couple of years, because during the pandemic, during the civil unrest, the protests, and basically we had to talk to each other on Zoom. But there were times that you just want to break down, and we all talked to each other, and we got each other through that. So thank you so much for that. And speaking of family, my family's here. I am so proud of them. Thank you guys for your courage and support and encouragement. 3 of my first cousins are here. I have so many cousins. But they're my first cousins, but they're actually my big sisters because they pretty much helped raise me, which they are greeting with. My niece, who is one of my many nieces and nephews, and she will say that she's my favorite. I will neither confirm or deny that. We are so much alike. So thank you, Shante, for being here. And I have to thank 2 people who are no longer here physically, but they're in my heart every day, and those are my parents. My father is probably looking down with that wry smile of his, symbol showing a sign of approval. My mom was probably shouting, "My baby, my baby." Y'all know what I'm talking about. And just for all my friends and parents and relatives who are no longer here. And I know I don't know if it's 4 minutes or not, but I can keep like anchors on time, but when it's like me, it's like, no. And for my parents and relatives who are here, who are no longer here, and I like to borrow a quote from Maya Angelou. In fact, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, she actually used the line when she was confirmed. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. I can't read now. Up from a past that rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, willing and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wonderfully clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. Thank you so much, guys, for all this. It really means a lot. Don't know if I deserve it or not, but I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Please welcome the President and CEO of the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, Michelle Vetterkind.
Wow, that was impressive. Love the energy in this room and the emotion. Oh my. So on behalf of the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, I'm incredibly honored to be standing up here today proudly representing a membership comprised of more than 95% of all of the television and radio stations licensed to Wisconsin. So, on behalf of the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, I'd like to congratulate all of our inductees recognized today, Jan, Rick, John, Glenn, and Dwight. Another round of applause, please. As you've heard today and as you've seen today, Wisconsin stations provide local news, weather, entertainment, sports, and of course, emergency alert information that is unmatched by any other community resource. Wisconsin's broadcasters are an integral part of their communities and offer unparalleled public service to their local communities throughout Wisconsin. Wisconsin stations contribute approximately $270 million per year to their communities through fundraising efforts and donations of airtime for public service announcements. No other industry serves their communities to this level. No other industry. And I cannot stress enough how vital the work is that Wisconsin's broadcasters do every single day. Many of you in this room know this because you live it. It's a part of you. And for that, I say, be proud of what you do. Keep fighting this great and oh so important fight, knowing that what you do matters and you truly do make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. You know, there are times, certainly throughout my career, where it's not been easy to be a journalist. It's not been very popular to be a journalist. This certainly feels like one of those times, so we want to recognize the hard work that people continue to do, despite the efforts that some make to diminish, to demoralize, not to give it the credit it's due. But there's a reason that this is considered the fourth estate of this country, because journalism matters. And what you do every single day matters. So thank you for that. Please join me in another round of applause for our honorees today. As we have heard and seen, it is an outstanding class of journalists, of broadcasters. They have made their mark and they continue to create a legacy of excellence that we will all follow. Again, a shout out to our partners at MUTV for their production and live streaming experience. I think we can tell from today that the future of our industry is in great hands. Don't forget too, you can share the entire program with friends who couldn't be here by going online to the Midwest Emmys website. We also want to thank Rebecca Colling. Rebecca, where are you? Wave your hand, Rebecca, so everybody can see you. Thank you. Rebecca is the Executive Director and Administrator for the Chicago Midwest chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. It is her dedication and her hard work that makes these events possible, and we are so grateful, Rebecca. Thank you so much. I think he's back in the booth perhaps, but we also want to give a special thanks to Don Hertz of Marquette for spending many long hours producing all of our animations and videos for today's presentation. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize the members of the Wisconsin Silver Circle Committee, our chair, Mark Somromsky, Jim Angeli, Joyce Garbaziak, Joe Geisler, Gary Reistad, Myra Sanchak, and myself. I don't really need to thank myself, but it's not really work when we have the opportunity to look at the careers of so many wonderful people and the opportunity to bring forward such great honorees as today. It's truly a privilege. Mark mentioned that he was going to ask you for money, and so I'm the follow-up to ask for money. The flowers on the table today, someone can take those home if they would like to, but we're going to ask you to leave some money in one of the envelopes there. Anything that you leave will go towards supporting the scholarship programs that the Academy has and that go to the young people who are the future of our industry. Most importantly, we want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. It is your presence, your being here, that makes today so special and important for our honorees. It's been my absolute pleasure to be your MC today. Have a great afternoon and evening. And, you know, Packers aren't in, right? But there are two teams in. Historically, in the Super Bowl today, we have two black quarterbacks who are playing. So I don't want to influence anybody at all. But as you head to Mahomes after today's event, I have one chief request. Whether you root for Kansas City or you root for the Chiefs, root for the team that's going to win. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you for attending the Wisconsin Silver Circle Honors Ceremony. If you'd like to nominate someone for consideration, please visit the Silver Circle section of our website, chicagoemmyonline.org. And if you'd like to donate to the Academy Scholarship Fund, go to tinyurl.com/NATASgive. Safe travels, and we hope to see you again next year.